everybody, and welcome to another Doctor Who review. I'm continuing Who Month here, and it's a review for the 7th Doctor with Silver Nemesis. Now, it's a little bit of a special review this time, because I actually have a friend who's joined me this time. I have with me Fraser, who seems to be coming live from the Tardis.
Yep, sorry. Yep, just getting the Tardis cam working. There we go. We're fine. We're good. Are you receiving me? I'm in the year 3 billion. Trump's running again.
Oh no! And that joke will only work for the whole of November. Thank goodness we're only recording 2 weeks in advance. But there we are.
It's just it's just a big giant head in a jar now. So I am the face of Trump.
So yeah, it's a Doctor Who review with the 7th Doctor and Silver Nemesis. Now, as you know, as always, we have the television companion for the plot lines. Now, I've managed to transmit it through time and space to Fraser, and the gentleman here will read out the plot line for you for this wonderful little 25th anniversary story.
The Doctor and Ace visit England in 1988 for 3 rival factions. The Cybermen, a group of Nazis, and a 17th century sorceress named Lady Penfort are attempting to gain control of a statue made of living metal, Validium, that was created by Rassilon in the ultimate defence for Gallifrey. The statue has 3 components, a bow, an arrow, and the figure itself that must be brought together in order to be activated. They have been separated since 1638 when, in order to foil the first attempt by Penfort to seize it, the Doctor launched the figure into orbit in a powered asteroid. The asteroid has been approaching the Earth at 25 yearly intervals ever since, leaving a succession of disasters in its wake, and has now crash-landed near Windsor Castle. The Doctor plays the 3 factions off against one another and eventually appears to concede defeat to the Cyber leader. However, this is just part of a carefully laid trap, and the Cybermen's fleet is totally wiped out by the statue.
So that is the lovely plot line given by Fraser. Let's get into the story, shall we? Just a little bit. So, your initial thoughts of Silver Nemesis, I think we'll start with.
So I hadn't watched it properly for a while, so I watched it on the Brickbox. Other streaming services are available. And I really enjoyed it. It was, you can tell, it was a weird mix of Doctor Who when it was starting to get back into its stride again in that era. But the BBC weren't giving them very much money. So there were some things that looked brilliant and some things that just looked really bad. For example, it starts in South Africa, doesn't it, 1988?
South America,
sorry, yeah. And it's got the house, and that's all fine. But it kind of pans across this table, and it's just like, Nazi, Nazi, Hitler, Hitler, Nazi, and they're just making it really obvious. These are bad men. It's just like all those Nazi objects and like collectibles hanging about the place. And then the guy's in the computer, and he goes and he gets the calculations to where Nemesis is going to land, and he goes out to speak to his boss, and it cuts out to the boss, and he's just got this over-the-top, sophisticated bow and arrow, like crossbow thing, and he's about to shoot a parrot. And I was like, why on earth are you going to shoot a parrot? I was like, nah, we want you to think you're a really bad man. That's what it is. But then you kind of see the shot. They've obviously just put in the background, superimposed some hills in the back of the shot of the house exterior for some reason, and it just looks really weird. But I liked it. It's action packed. Everybody got a lot to do. The 7th Doctor does what the 7th Doctor does. He makes everyone think that he's incompetent and a bit bumbling and he doesn't know what he's doing, only to you realise that he knew what he was doing the entire time. And I don't think Ace even knew what he was up to most of the time, although I think she's starting to catch on a wee bit to his method. The stunts were good. I mean, there was so much shooting, so many bang bang shoots, and the Ace and the Doctor are almost getting gunned down, like 2 minutes after you see they appear on screen and diving into water and all sorts. It was just like, my God. Couldn't help but notice that you never see inside the TARDIS in this story.
Well, I think really the TARDIS, it's more the fact that it was stuck at Ealing Elstree. It was Elstree. It was stuck at Elstree, just off the back of Greatest Show of the Galaxy, because they just come off the back of that. So that's probably where it was. They didn't have any space for it. But they had to be completely outside as well because of the asbestos thing that was happening in that time in the BBC Television Centre. So
I remember speaking to Seamus, Moira, whatever we're calling him, and he thought it was because they hadn't fixed the TARDIS console for so long because they didn't want to spend the money on it, that the prop itself was just falling apart. And that was maybe why you didn't see it as much as well.
Well, that's true, but obviously they had a location factor. It's kind of similar to Spearhead from space. They didn't have the studio space, so they couldn't do some of the shots they wanted to. So they ended up doing it all outside in location. And actually, it actually lends well for the story to have it all in location anyway, to be fair.
What did you think of the Cybermen's costumes?
Well, yeah, we need sunglasses to see them, I think. They're very shiny.
They had this weird design in the hand where they had like normal fingers, but these two fingers were just like one. But like it just looked like it was like two fingers fitting into like a little tiny glove, and they all had it, and it reminded me of Centauran hands instead for some reason.
Yeah.
And it was very distracting because they all had it, and at no point, and I couldn't stop staring. I was like, "What is this for?" And it never comes into play what it's for.
I mean, the Cybermen, they have different hand designs as time goes on. They've got the cricket glove design, which most of the 80s had, and then you've got this design, and then you've got the claw and the pincers that they have in the 60s and everything, and then tubular bells of Revenge of the Cybermen. Oh god! But it's all like corrugated tubing. They went overboard with that, I think, with with Revenge. But here, it's quite a boiler suit, sprayed silver. The headpiece is actually pretty good.
Yeah, the headpiece is good, and the pieces on the chest are good. But I think that the boiler suit just let it down a little bit. It just looked a bit cheap.
There are times where you can actually tell there's a glove over the suit because the sleeves are sticking out a little bit at times.
Did you remember like the first time you see the Cybermen and it was like cloth and mostly and it was the 60s, and I felt they were far more terrifying. Even now, when in the new series when you had the 12th Doctor meet the Mondas Cybermen, they were just more scary than maybe what the Nemesis Cybermen were doing. But they're great villains. I love the Cybermen, like especially Mondas Cybermen. Like Parallel Earth ones are fine too. But there's something quite nostalgic about Mondas Cybermen that I like.
Overall, it's an enjoyable romp. It's not what I would call take the brain out. It is enjoyable enough. I'm not sure if there's much substance to the story plots though. After the first episode, it builds up quite well and it kind of goes a bit haywire. I think just a little bit.
Yeah, you can see why it's only 3 parts.
Yeah, if it was 4, it'd really struggle.
It would drag. But I feel like Sophie Aldred gets a lot to do, and I love that. She's got a lot of action scenes. The Cybermen are really out to get her for some reason, and I don't feel she's done it. They seem to pick on her specifically than any other character in it. They seem to kill the human female, and it's just like, what has she done to annoy you?
Oh, she blew up their ship, but the Doctors say so, but she blew up their ship. That's probably a good reason.
I did like that. Have you gone rogue, and are you carrying about some of that Nitro 9 I told you not to do? But yeah, I think she gets a lot of good stuff to do, especially in the action scenes. And I love it when she's on the staircase with the gold coins, with the what she got?
Slingshot.
Slingshot. There you go. I was thinking of the Simpsons, and she's just taking them out one at a time, and even the bit where she has to reach for the coins, and then they shoot the coins, just run up the stairs, and the whole bit when she's on the kind of gangplank at the top of it, I thought it was just really good. It's just good action.
Oh, considering the limited budgets they have on there, yeah, they did very well. They obviously had limited time as well because the explosions are probably a bit bigger than health and safety would allow even in the 80s. Never mind.
when the Nemesis asteroid leaves again, it just goes boom. It's just a giant plume of smoke. Anyone who was in that factory is dead.
It's just the fact they would probably turn around not long after that and said, right, we need to build something on here because Doctor Who's destroyed the set, But
I thought the death of some of the Cybermen by rocket fuel, the blast of the rocket, I thought that was quite dark.
That's quite dark, melting them, yeah.
Yeah, and they scream, pain. There was just a lot. I thought that was quite dark, but it was, and the Doctor hides Ace from it. He turns her head away from it. But I enjoyed Lady Penford.
Yes.
She was deliciously over the top, and I loved her companion, whose name I cannot remember now. but he's just
Richard.
Richard. Yeah, he's a bit scared about going, forward in time and being out of his own time.
That's understandable.
Yeah, of course. But then he's loyal to her to a fault. Defender. He takes out a good few Cybermen as well.
I mean, this whole thing about the Cybermen being taken out by golden tipped arrows is a slightly far fetched because they're impeded by it. They shouldn't really die from it. They're just impeded by it. Because remember, in Earthshock, the Adric star is used to impede the breathing, but it's actually one of their own guns that kills the cyber leader. It wasn't actually.
Okay.
It isn't actually the gold. So this whole thing about gold being used to kill the Cybermen is slightly far fetched in my eyes.
Who was the story editor on Nemesis?
Was it
Andrew
Cartmel? Yeah.
Well, he should have known better.
Problem is he didn't half the time. That's the thing. JNT was guiding him a little bit with these sort of things. It just seems to be the whole plot thing. It's like, right, okay, we need the Cybermen. We need it someone to about 25 years, and we need some big all-ending thing. Hang on a minute. Ben, where's your script? I need to get some ideas. As in Ben Aronovich from Remembrance. That really feels like to me a little bit. It's a little bit Remembrance-esque with these different factions coming in.
Well, it comes back to, who are you? The Doctor's secret, who are you? And she threatens to reveal who he really is. Mm-hmm. And the Cyberman's like, we don't care. we
don't give a France, yeah.
We don't care about Gallifreyan's secrets. It's like, really? You could use it against them? What I thought was quite nice was like when the Doctor uses the transmitter or the scanner or whatever it is, and he takes away the curtain and reveals all of the cyber ships hanging over Earth. Yeah. And for me, it was a bit reminiscent of Partner of the Ways and Bad Wolf, when there's nothing there, and then they cancel the signal, and boom, millions of Dalek ships are there. Obviously, their effects are a lot better than what they had.
Yeah, they had proper CGI then, not just paint box CGI.
Static shots and blinking lights. Oh no, we'll never get away from the blinking boxes.
To be fair, the model work that was used was not too bad. I mean, exploding cyber scout ship was pretty well done.
That was really good.
And I actually did like the effects of them flying over the trees as well. So they actually managed to impose it that it's behind the trees as well. Yeah. So that was quite good compositing going on there for the 80s.
I liked when they go to Lady Penfore's tomb, and it says on it, "Death is but a door."
Yeah.
And I could not think of Ghostbusters 2 because Vigo the Carpathian's last words are, "Death is but a door, time a window, I'll be back." And that was 1 year before Ghostbusters 2. So I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of nice touches I've noticed in this one. The glowing arrow and bow. I love that effect. I know it's front axial projection and the whole that technology, but I love that effect, and it's amazing that they were using that in the Green Death 15 years before. Never mind, but they've managed to. It works actually better in the dull than it does in the sunlight.
Well, even Nemesis herself, she looks genuinely terrifying at points. There's something quite sad about her. She's this living weapon, and she knows she is. Just waiting for her freedom, which I don't think is resolved in this episode.
No, the Doctor says reform and I'll need you again.
Yeah. Which we never found.
That's an extra undertone that's in the series, in this story, that you wouldn't have got a couple of years before.
Yeah.
And this is the sort of development of, you're talking about the series getting better at this point. They've gone to another level in regards to the writing, even though this one's a bit of a hodgepodge. They've got another level in regards to the ideas.
They were leaning heavily on the darker Doctor and the mystery of the Doctor, and that's what Andrew Cartmel is on record to say, that he wanted to bring back this mysteriousness, this darkness about the Doctor, which I think Chibnall was doing a bit of in Series 12 with Jodie as well, like, the mystery, who are you? And I like that. And I like it at the end when, Ace is like, who are you, Doctor? And he just goes, It's like, oh, you'll never know.
The one thing that we have to make it clear and make it absolutely cool, and you put a screenshot of this yesterday on your Facebook, the fez and the mop.
Right,
the 11th Doctor was not the first to wear it.
I was watching it yesterday, and I just clocked that Ace has got a fez on. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So yeah, it was quite fun seeing Ace wearing a fez.
Yeah.
That's Ace for you.
But this kind of manic, fun Doctor you're getting with McCoy, along with the darkness. He's still the cosmic hobo-esque, Troughton-esque element sometimes with some of the things he's doing. The scene with the fez where he's walking behind all the outcomes, and one minute he's got the fez and broom in his hand, the next minute he's back to his normal umbrella and hat, and then obviously the bits with the jazz and listening on the hill with the jazz and that sort of element as well, and the bits when he the element when he puts his hand in the tiger's head in the storeroom and goes ah, all those little elements that he was still part of there. But there's a lot more of the dark side. This is kind of like the Remembrance was the first instance of it, but this is kind of like where he goes more dark, and you can see that in Great Show afterwards.
Do you feel there's a line in it? So at the start, when you see Ace and the Doctor for the first time, and she goes up to the jazz band and says, "Will you sign my tape, please?"
Courtney Pine, yeah.
And the Doctor says, "Don't you get embarrassed doing that?" And I'm like, was that a comment towards fans?
Probably. It might even be an ad-lib thing that he said on the day, because obviously maybe Sophie
Comic-Cons,
is a big fan of Courtney Pine. So
Comic-Cons then, nothing like what they are now. They were more like comic marts and book fairs more than Comic-Cons.
Yeah.
They weren't very trendy, but being a Whovian wasn't trendy. I say it's trendy now. It's obviously a lot more popular. It just felt like that comment to me, it stuck out. It stuck out for me.
But that's obviously, it sounds to me like one of the ad-libs.
Yeah.
Now, on the version you saw in Brickbox, does it have any extended scenes, or is it just the actual story itself? Does it have the scene where where they're making where is it? There's a bit in Windsor Castle when they're trying to get to the Queen.
Yes.
And they escape, and they go down the staircase.
I recognise her, and Ace just pulls them in. Doctor, Professor, what? Why didn't you say? That's the person we need.
No, in the extended version that you get on the VHS, and it is in the deleted scenes in the DVD, so I don't know if BritBox has this, is why I was asking the question.
No, I don't think it does.
There's a scene where they escape through the Windsor Castle. It's extended a little bit, and they escape through Windsor Castle. And one bit, the Doctor manages to get away from the bodyguards by McCoy putting his real glasses on and doing some hypnotism for them.
Yeah, he goes, you look at me. You stay here. You come with me.
Yeah, is it that bit? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the bit down the stairs with the photograph with the picture with the portrait of Ace. That's not in the original ed. That's not in the original transmission.
And I don't
wonder if that was in BritBox.
I don't remember seeing it in BritBox.
Mm-hmm. But you know the scenes.
Yeah, I know the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Because Sophie has that. Sophie has that painting.
Does she?
In her house. And when she has people, she tells the story. And when people come round, they go, "Oh, that's a wonderful portrait." And she goes, "Yes, it's of my great 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 grandmother." And they go, "Oh my god!"
But overall, I mean, you mentioned some of the cast. We mentioned Paidfort, we've mentioned the Doctor, we mentioned Ace, mentioned Richards, and but De Flores we've not really said much about.
He reminds me of the actor who played the Demon Headmaster, the original Demon Headmaster. I know it's not him, but he reminded me. I felt at times he was just a wee bit over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a bit where when he takes the silver bow, Nemesis bow, it just looks really small in his hands. It just looked a bit silly to me. I was like, okay. But I thought he played his part well. But I feel like there wasn't very much for him to do. His role seemed to be bringing the armed goons to shoot at people to get things done, and then obviously try to make a deal with the Cybermen who he knew he was going to double cross or try to double cross. So yeah, I feel once the Cybermen were in it, they weren't needed.
He was kind of like a rabbit in headlights most of it. Yeah. Speaking of which, the very last scene, I don't know what it is, but I always got the sense it felt rushed, and I found out that actually it was rushed because it was the last thing of the day, and they were trying to get the time, the bit where they all come together. And I mean, that fear you see in McCoy's eyes, that's probably real fear. He's probably thinking through his head, "Oh my god, what's the next line? What's the next line? I can't think."
The cameraman will down tools in 5 minutes. Because that's how it used to work. That's how back in the day in the BBC, that when it got to 5 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever, down tools. And if you hadn't finished filming, then that was it for you.
I mean, loads of explosions. I like the action sequences.
The
The effects
music's
are not
good.
too bad. The music's
music's good.
okay. I'm not a great fan of McCulloch's stuff sometimes. Remembrance is fine. I don't mind it in Time of the Rani and Paradise Towers, to be fair. I'm not a great fan of it in Nemesis. It just seems too forced orchestral, if you know what I'm saying. It's not quite
Okay, yeah.
bombastic. It's not bombastic like Murray Gold's later stuff, but it's kind of like he's relying too much on the pathos being with all these instruments. It's
Yeah.
not like Dudley Simpson's is quite refined, or Paddy Kingsland, who's very good at occasional leitmotifs of the music. It's like a full score through the whole thing. There's very little where he's not actually doing anything with the music. The direction by Chris Clough's not too bad.
Yeah.
Considering it's rushed and considering it's all outside.
I think everyone gives a solid performance. I really enjoyed the moment where they get a ride off of the American in the limo.
Dolores Gray, who's
It's-
brilliantly over the top, which is exactly what you need for the comedy part.
It felt very GNT.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, my days! I'm sharing a car with someone who's researched my family history." And she mentions the name and goes, "Nothing but thieves and crooks. She bribed away my cook. It was a slow poison." And she's just like, "Oh, it's great hearing all this. This is the bit." And she went, "Destiny will be mine. Oh, it will be, honey."
It surely will. It surely do. Yeah, I know.
To keep the straight face, but she's like, "Yes, all things will come my way."
All things. It's the fact she goes. It's the whole thing. I think it's been foreshadowed a little bit that the cyber leader turns around when Painful goes to her grave, and he thinks that she's going to go mad by seeing her dead body.
It's
But
just
no, she
mad.
goes
It's
mad.
just madness.
She goes, yeah. Is this madness, leader? I believe it is. Yeah.
Sassy Cyberman.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it's kind of foreshadowed a little bit because obviously later on she does lose the plot, but that's because she knows she's losing power. It sounds very familiar in this current climate, to be fair, but there we are.
Yeah, so she leaps into the asteroid and kind of becomes one with Nemesis.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking it's the same actress who plays Nemesis?
Yes, Fiona Walker does both.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
And she was in Doctor Who before. She was a minor part in Keys and Marinus.
There was some. I felt that. I think when you watch it back now, with time having been a factor, there's some kind of lesbian tendencies underlying for Ace. Particularly in Survival, I think it's really obvious in Survival. But I feel like when Nemesis says to her, "Do you find me beautiful?" Ace is properly besotted with Nemesis.
Yeah.
And I think there's a wee bit of lingering there. And I think there's elements of that as well in Ghostlight. I think there's certainly
with
kind of
the girl who takes everyone to Java. What's her name again? Oh.
So I wonder if Sophie or the writers have said Ace is bi or Ace is gay, but we're not allowed to say it.
Yeah.
Because if we say our companion's gay, people aren't going to want the figures or the toys, or they're not going to watch it and whatever else. But I just thought it was really interesting to it just came across really strongly for me when I was watching it yesterday, and I just wonder because now obviously I write many award-winning web series, and Innes, when we were doing Origins, said to me, she messaged me, she went, I've got to ask you a favour for Effie, the character she's playing. And she's like, "Can Effie be bi?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And I didn't have to think about it. So I just wonder if there was a similar conversation at some point back in the 80s.
Probably. I get the impression that the Tardis crew were quite liberal at that time for a lot of things.
Because J&T was gay, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
So it would make sense.
I mean, the production unit manager was his partner, Gary Downey, so...
Yeah, so you'd like to think he was trying to bleed in representation in a time when it probably wasn't welcome. Because that would have been peak HIV times.
Yeah, it would have been.
When there was massive campaigns to... I think everybody... we're pivoting here. But, so I just wonder if there was a power struggle just find it fascinating. I love the
Well,
behind the scenes stuff. So
no, it's fair enough, and I think in regards to that sort of situation with some of the characters and some of the companions, I get the impression that Perry maybe had some leanings towards that. I don't think Mel did. Definitely don't think Mel did.
no, not
She's
there.
too girly. I also get the impression that Turlough may have had some leanings that way as well, a little bit.
Yeah, because the actor. Oh no,
Mark
not
Strickson isn't.
Yeah.
Matthew Waterhouse apparently is, and
Well,
he's just rubbish.
he came out not that long ago, I don't think.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, but it would have been bubbling away. His conscience.
Yeah, but
so.
I mean, I'm not a great fan of Matthew Waterhouse, as you might have seen from the previous 3 reviews from the Space trilogy. But
he was just a bit of a naff companion.
He was a little bit, yes. I have to admit that. I'm sorry. He's the overriding theme this series. This Who month is Matthew Waterhouse is a rubbish actor. You know.
Yeah, it was Peter Davison said the Doctor probably could have saved Adric, but chose not to.
It's probably a good thing, actually. Imagine there's a good story they have about Adric post Earthshock in the Big Finish audios, which is an interesting thing. It's not Matthew Waterhouse that plays it, but it's an interesting development of the character and how needy he was.
I like in on the DVD for Earthshock, there's part 5.
Yeah,
there's a special feature, and it's like a claymation thing, and Adric lands on Earth with the cyber leader's head. And he goes, "Oh, I'm alive!" And then a dinosaur just comes along, goes, "Hop," and eats him. And then it just cuts to the cyber leader going, "Excellent."
Yeah, I know. It's just brilliant. But going back to our story, going back to Nemesis, I know we always go off on tangents. This is why it's so enjoyable. But overall,
it's what Lynn and Robert come for.
Yeah, the tangents. Yeah, absolute tangents.
I guarantee you, before she hit play on this video, she switched off Alexa.
I bet she did. Yes. Come on, that joke is now 4 months old, and Jamie didn't get it at the time, and Jamie still doesn't get it now. But there we are. As Lynn quite rightly pointed out, his face was really confusing when on the Deanstructor for that.
That's a point. In case Jamie's watching this, Alexa, set alarm 2:30 a.m.
You're a cruel so-and-so.
But back to the story.
Yes, back to the story, back to some wrapping up. I mean, overall, it's not bad. It's not great. There is that the received wisdom, which we have an argument about what our top 6 are and what our bad 6 are. This falls into me as one of the bad 6 of McCoy.
But no, I love McCoy's era. I prefer. I will say this. I prefer the era with Ace. Mm-hmm. I feel that's when it's at its strongest. I feel like Ace was a much better fit for Sylvester's Doctor.
Well, you can tell the rapport's there between the two of them. You know, there's some companion teams, the rapport's not quite there. I mean, I made it clear in the East-based stuff I've been doing recently that there is some tension in the performance between Lalla Ward and Tom Baker at times. Because they were having arguments at that point. They were having relationship issues.
Who was the scariest monster at your time in Doctor Who? Tom Baker.
Yeah, that's what she said. That's what she said. But there's also elements where you can tell there's a deep bond and the relationship works. And those sort of companion teams are the case throughout Doctor Who.
I would love to have seen one more season with Ace and the Doctor. But
I think that would have been good.
But that
have one more season.
Our plan, I think, was to leave halfway through.
Yeah.
Which would have been, I'd be heartbroken even now. I don't like it when companions leave. Apart from some I don't care about. But it would have been good to see one more season, I think. Yeah.
But the great thing with the Ace Doctor, and the great thing with all the companions, is we get developments of each of the Doctor's companions from Tom onwards in Big Finish, and I believe that Sophie is the one that's done the most stories.
Yeah,
because she's in virtually every McCoy one where he isn't on his own. But but it's obvious she enjoys the action stuff because you can see this in Nemesis.
Yeah, she's got a lot of great action and death.
Yeah,
and the same in Remembrance where she gets to beat up a Dalek.
Yeah, well, that's the famous scene, isn't it? Beat up a Dalek in Nemesis. So.
And then smash through a window.
Yeah,
which I don't think was her.
I don't think that was her, but I think she
No.
did do it. But I think the ankle thing was actually real.
Yeah, I think if Sophie was allowed to jump through the window, I think she would have done it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But-
Speaking of stunts, there is one in this one where Sylvester isn't part of it. It's jumping in the river one.
Was that not
That's
him?
a stunt man.
It was a bit flat, that bit, truthfully.
Yeah. The reason being is because he had a cold,
Right.
so they didn't want to risk it.
Because you get the run of gunfire, and then he just goes, and he just falls in the water quite flatly.
Yeah.
Or Sophie chucks herself into it, and it was just.
But that's why it wasn't him.
Yeah, it just felt a bit state. Because later on, he's like doing backward rolls and all sorts on the hill and all that. So
yeah.
I love the bit with the gecko.
Well, they're shrouded. Yes.
Just imagine the gecko. But, oh yes, it was lovely to work with Sylvester. Always playing spoons. Back in those days, we had tape, and we used so much tape on spoons, and that's why the ending was rushed, because we had no tape left. But it was very lovely to work with. I wonder what he does now.
But overall,
Sorry.
I know we keep segueing, but this is what was going to happen. This edit is going to be absolutely fun. Is the polite way of putting it.
Gary the gecko. I wonder what he's doing now.
But summing up, yeah. Overall, I did like the story as a whole. It's enjoyable to watch. It's not the strongest, as I say. There are some weaker parts. I think the script couldn't lend itself to 4 episodes. I think it was struggling to do 3, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I think they did run out of steam rather quickly. It could have been nearly 2-parter of season 25, and it probably would have worked better, to be fair.
Yeah.
However, overall, I'm not going to do Time Lash ratings. I think I'm going to do a TARDIS rating of 3 TARDISes out of 5, or gems in that respect. Typical. But yeah,
it's a genuine 4 from me. I enjoyed it.
No, I understand why you're a 4, but when I look at the other,
you have to give it 3.5.
I was thinking of 3.5, but I think in reflection, with all the other stories I reviewed, it's more a 3 than a 3.5. But that doesn't necessarily mean that in the future it would be better. But at the moment, it's definitely a 3 out of 5 for me, and a 4 out of 5 for you, Fraser.
Yes, and not because I'm close friends with Sophia.
Not that at all. No. I didn't expect that for anything. So, Silver Nemesis sits in at 3 TARDISes out of 5 and joins the likes of the Idiot's Lantern, Battlefield, Arc of Infinity and Warrior's Gate. Time Lash is still bottom with 2.5 TARDISes out of 5. Fraser's 4 TARDISes out of 5 will put it in the company of The Visitation, The Green Death, An Unearthly Child, Power of the Daleks, Spearhead from Space and Father's Day. But at the top on my own ratings is The Happiness Patrol, Inferno, The Day of the Doctor, The Caves of Androzani, The Tomb of the Cybermen and Dalek with 4.5 TARDISes out of 5. Well, that's it. That's the end of this review for Silver Nemesis. Thank you, Fraser, for joining in today.
No worries, I'm just going to nip off to somewhere in time and space. I'm going to go back to 1988 and make sure that Sylvester's not got a cold. I will shield him.
Oh dear.
It's been a pleasure to talk about the anniversary episode of Doctor Who for that season.
Yeah, no, it's been good to have a review with somebody else for once. It's been a while since I last did it, so it's a pleasure to do that with you, mate. Thank you very much for that, and that kind of seals Who Month for me this year, for 2020. Thank you guys for watching this. If you want to give suggestions for 2021, there's a link in the post down below for the suggestions for 2021 from Patreon. Give me your suggestions, let me know, and also you can join Patreon as well, as little as £1 a month. Help support the channel. Please see the link down below for that. But that's it for now. Yes, thanks Fraser. Thank you everybody for watching this video. If you like this video, don't forget to like it and share it with the hashtag teamstructor, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell. Bing! Yeah, you knew what was coming, come on. So you know when a new video comes out. General is 4 PM GMT on a Sunday, and next week it's a channel update. But until then, thanks guys for watching as always, and we'll see you later.